Hello.
Welcome. Happy Friday.
It is Friday. We love a good Friday.
Yes.
Yay!
Okay, so we are going to dive in as we're going to have some people jumping on here in the next few minutes. Ashton, let's kick this off. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself before we dive in?
Yeah. Well, so Emily, for all of you that are her coaches or clients, she was my first boss in real estate. So she found me 2016 and we worked for a rainmaker at that time that was doing roughly 330 deals and over the next couple of years got to 500. But I started in the inside sales position and then got to grow up a little bit in the lead generation department and got to take it over, hire, 30 plus ISAs and train them up to be up and effective in the first 3 months. And I still love real estate so much. I wanted to do it in multiple locations. So I started a referral company that is in multiple states and we focus on outbound prospecting like expireds and for sale by owners. And now I get to work with rainmakers kind of all over the country, helping them build their lead generation departments, helping understand the ISA role better, and helping ISAs get to be more effective in the role, and understanding what's most important. So, but yeah, it's my favorite thing, and it's not a lot of people's favorite things. So if anyone needs help, that's what I'm here for. I want to make sure it's your favorite thing too.
Love it. Okay, so it's safe to say that lead generation is her one thing. So whether you're an agent, whether you're inside sales, it really doesn't matter, guys. Lead gen is lead gen. Can we agree? Yeah, it doesn't matter what role you're in. So, okay, so today what you can expect, we're going to dive into a lot. So we're going to move pretty fast. We're going to have Q&A at the end. So we are going to go through what I am seeing for a lot of you are the most important things, right? So to start off, what can we expect in today's market? The market's shifted. Can we all agree? The market has shifted. Yeah. Well, guess what? Lead generation, it goes back to shift, right? Lead generation has shifted as well. Our efforts shift as markets shift, right? The market doesn't determine your business, it just determines your strategy. So, what are we expecting? What are we seeing out there in terms of conversions, right? How many dials does it take to hit contact goals? How many contacts does it take to hit appointment goals? And it does vary by source. So, don't worry, we're going to hit those sources and what you should expect. Where's the lowest hanging fruit? Where can we find business now? Who wants business now on this call? Everyone's hand should go up. Yes, exactly. Okay. So you're in the right place. So we want business now. What's converting at the highest level? What do we see? And then how do we be the best at lead generation? What does it take in order to master lead generation? Because as we know at Keller Williams, we go off the 3 L's: leads, listings, leverage. The foundation of our business is leads, right? We never stop. It's just what game are we playing? It's either lead generation or lead conversion. And then Ashton's going to give you a lot of scripting, dialogues, objection handlers. I kind of told her what I'm hearing from a lot of you in terms of objections and that kind of stuff. And then we'll open it up. And don't worry, yes, we will email out everything that she says. So don't worry. So if there is a text template or a conversation, or you're like, oh, that was really good, and you can't write as fast, if you're like me, don't worry, we'll send it out. Sound like a plan? All right, well, let's go, Ashton. So lead conversion. What can we expect? What are you seeing in terms of dials to contacts, contacts to appointments, and so forth?
So, and I'm glad that you said that we're going to break it down by sources. So Emily and I got to prep a little bit. So I went through the top sources that I'm seeing. And so I just wanted to kind of give you guys some numbers based around that. But I will say, I love that Emily the market has shifted, guys. Also, everyone's business is different. And so I think sometimes we give standardized answers to these. This is just a range that we track. You should be tracking it in your own market because you guys might have a different skill set, you might have a different system. So this is kind of what I've seen across the board from the areas that I'm in. So in circle prospecting, I typically see it's usually an 8 to 12% answer rate. So we're just going to focus on the 10%. So if you dialed 100 people, you would talk to 10 of them. So out of those 10 talks, you would see 2 to 4 nurtures, meaning that you've identified people that are interested in potentially talking about real estate, but their timeline is not now. So you're going to be kind of focusing on what would be the solution and when would that solution be. Because remind you, you're cold calling. They're not raising their hand that they're immediately ready to move, but more so just identifying what's their next step. Out of that, I usually see a 1 to 5% conversion. So out of 100 contacts, you would probably get 1 to 5 appointments out of them if you're calling an area that isn't necessarily brand new construction and things like that. So that's why circle prospecting, I use it as like a practicing resource, meaning like when you guys have to change a script, go into circle prospecting because it's the best way for you to repeat your intro, your value proposition at a high level, and look at it more for like, I'm going to build up my skills versus I'm going to get a ton of contacts and appointments out of it. Now, if you do deliver a great carrot, which I'm sure some of you have, you just sold something, you just listed an amazing property, but it's super specific. Those carrots allow people to jump on it a little bit further. That can increase your conversion. But this is just a generic kind of overview on circle prospecting. Does anyone have anything that they want to ask on that or clarify? Just because if it's a piece of your business that's more important on circle prospecting or cold calling, circle calling. Okay. On expireds, I'm seeing a 20% immediate answer rate when we call them. So meaning that that's a 20% they will pick up the phone on the first call. 80% are responding via text messaging altogether. So with the 20% on the answer, it's about a 60% response rate on text messages alone. So if you're not texting them, I would start figuring out how to get that into your business because it does help a lot getting a hold of the right people. Out of those 6 to 10 text messages, so it's an 80% answer rate on expireds total. 2 of them are not going to be the right people typically is what I found. I usually get the wrong numbers in there. Those ones are the ones I'd make a note to mail because sometimes we can't find the right contact information in the lead generators that we have. But the other 6, 2 of them you should be able to get an appointment out of. 2 should turn into a nurture. And then the other ones are typically re-signed or opted out. Like we're not going to be able to convert them because they've already done something. So that's typically what I see. So if you're dialing 10, you'd think that you could probably get 1 to 2 appointments out of there and 2 nurtures out of it for sure. The rest are probably going to fall into that not yet right now, or we're unable to do something because they've already re-signed. So if anyone has questions, expireds are my favorite. And I do lump expireds and canceleds together. And Harmony, I do have to. Perfect.
Yeah, we're going to give you the text templates, Harm, so don't worry.
Yeah. On FSBOS, it's the exact same thing actually. So 20% answer on that first call. And then by 80% through text messages, we're getting the responses through there. So similar campaigns on these guys, you just want to get as many engagements as possible and then know what to say once you get them engaged. But I will say on expireds and for sale by owner, one of the biggest hiccups is that we actually don't find the right contact information immediately. And then we're spending a lot of time with the wrong people. So I know it's an extra step, but if you have ability or somebody to help you with it, make sure that you guys are getting a hold of the right phone number versus wasting your time with 6 to 7 numbers that aren't even the right person. So definitely focus on those. It's one of the highest conversions that we'll talk about a little bit later is on those for listing leads. Out of that, you're going to see, so the ones that you get a hold of, it's a 25% conversion to an appointment. So at the first call, you should be able to get an appointment if you talk to them. Out of the other ones, 50% turn into a nurture and 25%, again, we're unable to totally help. So signed already, they have an agent they've aligned up, or they're just never going to convert, or you don't like them, which is okay. We don't have to like everyone. We don't have to work with everybody. Any questions on that? If anyone has anything, I don't want to move too quickly, but I also want to get to everything else we have.
Yeah, let's move on to, let's say that I have qualifieds in my database. Let's say that I have Brivity Center leads or just, right, because a lot of these teams have a bunch of leads in a pool account or leads that they've purchased or clickbait, right, that kind of thing. What are you seeing there?
Yeah. So, and I did want to kind of separate this. So this is database. So your pond leads, guys, stuff that probably has been reached out to before. We may have engaged, maybe not, kind of all lumped together. So that's internet leads, old sign calls, referrals. Out of that, I see a 42% answer rate, because usually, typically, people have opted in for the communication and you are going to get a hold of them. Now, it is through calling and texting afterwards. We're not just doing that one call, but if you set them on an automation through the next 10 days, you'll typically get a response within the 12 reach outs. So that has a 42% answer rate. And this is where I want you guys to like focus on. 32% of those are already unengaged, like meaning they're going to message you back and they already purchased, they're no longer looking, something's changed, they're not in your market anymore. That's the thing. So 70% could potentially be something that you can get, but 32% are not. So the restaurant drips, about 10 to 15% of those answers from the 42% that answered, they are going to do something. They're just not ready yet. So you're going to get about 10 to 20% where you're going to be able to know, I can move this person forward in the future. I just have to ask the right questions so that I know how to follow up with them. And then out of those, 5 to 10% get booked. So your database, if you're looking at it and you have 100 leads that you could go call through, 42% will answer. And out of that, you should get 1 to 2 appointments if you're in the cold database. But what I find is that we kind of don't want to give the time to do 100 dials. That's typically what people say. Like they'll get through and get to that one contact in the database, call it good, and not keep going. You got to get through these dials, guys, because the database is opted in contact information typically, which means that you guys are safe to call it and you're not worrying about like counting them. And look at it as you're cleaning up. If it's not in a now appointment, clean up the database so your next year is easy. It doesn't always have to be an immediate win. Make your lives easier next year. So clean it up as much as possible. The next part I wanted to say, which is my favorite section, is previously booked appointments. I know you guys all track a lot because Emily is really good at tracking things. So on previously booked appointments that did not meet or sign, I usually see about a 26% answer rate. The reason I wanted to highlight that was, I know we all wish we had 100% conversion on appointments, but sometimes the appointments that we book are not necessarily ready or right now. That being said, you can get a 23% booking rate on the 26% that answer. So 1/4 of the people that you get a hold of on previously booked appointments, you can get them back on the calendar. Most likely it was a timing issues when we first got to them. So if you don't have the ability to look at your past trackers, try to figure that out, because it is a really easy way to go get appointments now if you guys haven't already gone through them. But yeah, that's about those ones on the conversion. Emily, any questions on that? Or
I think the thing
thoughts
that
about that?
the thing that I'm hearing across all of these sources is it's going to take around 30 conversations or so to get an appointment. That's basically summarizing is that about right?
Yep. Yeah, literally it comes out to what I always get is 28 to 32 is when I do people's numbers specifically. We typically hit within there. Now, obviously, some people have slower databases or colder ones. If you guys have a colder database, you probably want to give yourself a couple 5 to 10 extra contacts in there, just because it's probably not as healthy as you want it to be, which you're going to get it to by the end of this call because you're going to know how. So just focus on that.
All right. So where do we find business now? What's the lowest hanging fruit outside of appointments set not gone on?
Okay. Out of appointments set not gone on. So yep, if you can focus on
Outside
that
of
one, that's a great one. Yep.
Yeah.
So
outside of-
my favorite ones on the buy side is sign calls. So if you are a listing heavy business, this is still one of the best lead sources possible, because these people are opting into getting information and they're actively out in the market driving around. So if you're not comfortable with the sign calls, definitely take the time to really get used to those ones, understand how to keep them on the phone for a little bit longer, and convert them on that call to meeting with your team, because they are most likely needing help. Even if they've talked to other agents, you guys have to recognize their agent's not doing a good enough job, which is why they're calling you. So you should 100% push for that business because they're actively out in the market. The next place for buyers that I like to look, so if you're not getting a lot of sign calls, is in your CRM, understand how to move within it to find who's active on the website. Those people are shopping. Now, they might not be tied to you yet, even though they might be in your database, in your ecosystem, but they are looking. And the ones that are consistently looking, you need to have a good message or understand their search criteria and get them off market properties. Go through Craigslist, Facebook, and say, hey, I found a similar property. I'd love to chat with you about it. Those are the things that you should be saying to the recently active buyers. The other one that I've seen really effective lately is actually circle prospecting and going back into the neighborhoods when you have a listing and being able to tell them like, hey, we have this upcoming listing. Previous neighbors have moved from this area into this location. We wanted to see if anyone was looking to make a move. So if you can, see if you can do the upgrade pitch with a circle prospect, and it's a great training opportunity if you have someone newer or somebody that needs to get comfortable with dialing. On the sell side, the
Hold on,
ones
time
that I
out.
see the most, oh yeah, go
Gosh,
ahead.
hold on, time out. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's break this down. Okay, because I
Yep.
want them to really understand this. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go into my CRM. Okay. You pull
Mhm.
who's been active in the last 72 hours shopping on the website, right?
Correct.
Like who's been active the last 72 hours. That's typically what we pull, right? What do you say? You call them and what? Go.
Yep. So if they don't answer on the phone, I'm going to leave a message and I'm going to say, "Hey, this is Ashton with Keller Williams. I was just calling because you were recently active on our website. I'm also going to shoot you a text message in case that's a better way to communicate, but I wanted to talk to you about some properties that may fit what you're looking for." I want them to know that I'm going to text them. You guys know when you get a message like that, you're more likely to be like, okay, this person's not going away. So they're more likely to respond. Make sure you guys tell them you're going to reach out twice. And then in the text message, sometimes if you have an off-market property you're aware of or an upcoming listing, talk to your team that's similar to it. You can say, hey, we have a 322 in this city that I see that you've been searching in, but I'm not sure it's the right price range. Do you have a few minutes to chat today? You can do it that way, but you want to give them a carrot, something to jump off of, because if you just reach out and say, hey, are you still looking? They're getting messages like that from other people. So sound different with whatever you can say because you're more likely to get engaged. Another way that you can get them to actually come back into it is asking like, hey, we have properties coming up that I think might look. Are you still looking to make a move this year or did your plans change? So many people are actively looking, but when we force them to answer the question about right now, they get scared because they're like, if I say anything, this person's going to hound me. But if you ask about the timeline and they say, oh, yeah, it got moved to next year, you can continue the conversation without the pressure of the sale right now, but instead fill out the contact information that you guys need. What's their timeline? What are they waiting on? What's the real motivation? And then that way they actually are truly converted, not just a slightly updated, engaged lead in your database. So if you can't do the message for the off-market property, are you still looking to make a move this year or did your plans change? Because I promise you'll get an engagement back without having that much pressure on, do you have to purchase right now? Does that help on that clarification, Emily?
Yeah, I really like what you said. I trust that all of you wrote down looking at when you're pulling up the contact. This is like the ninja style of lead gen, right? You're multitasking by like looking through their portal as you're calling, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. And so you have your all your tabs open, right? And you're going through their portal and you look at a few of the things. So whether it's location, whether it's oh, they're looking at 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, right? And saying, hey, we've got, everyone has more inventory. You all have more inventory, right? So, hey, we've got a lot of 4-bedroom options here in Ozark. I noticed that's what you were touring. What price are you looking at? Keeping it open-ended so you can eliminate and isolate like, oh, we're waiting because the election. Oh, we're waiting because that's all the things that I hear all the time, right? You're eliminating that because they're not going to respond. They're going to go, oh, yes, I am looking for a 4-bedroom. Oh, well, we want to be around 350.
Perfect. Yep.
Well, that's awesome. We've got a ton of options. Help me understand, by when do you want to move?
Yep.
Right. Okay, cool. Love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I wanted to get into that website because a lot of you, can we all agree you have a lot of contacts in your database? Yes. Okay. So sign calls, we can't really control that, right? That's you're responding, right? Some of you get a lot of sign calls, some of you don't. It's very market dependent. But the website one, that's a huge one of who's active. So that would be like on your lead gen plan next week. Okay, love it. let's go into.
Can I pause really quick? Sorry, Emily, really quick on that too. If you're not comfortable in your CRM, I know that they are also different. Like that is one of the things that I love doing is helping people understand them a little bit better. And so if you need time or just somebody to like literally step by step show you how to do that stuff, that is, I love helping people understand where their business is at in their business. So if you need help, and Emily knows how to do it too, but yeah, let me help you find how to filter these people because a lot of you guys have gold in your database that we can get to.
Yeah, so that was a cue of reach out to Ashton. Her email is on your invite. Yes, I do not want to solve that problem. I do not.
Okay, yeah, don't let Emily solve it. Let me solve it for you.
Okay. All right. So moving on, my favorite topic, listings. Okay, listings. Talk to me, Ashton. Where are we finding leads now?
So what I would say, and just so I'm gonna skip expireds because I will talk about those till I'm blue in the face. But my other favorite one right now is the inventory that is most needed in your market is the single family home. And so that is such a great way to circle prospect. And it's also not a huge high pressure one because you're not necessarily competing with everyone as you are on expireds and for sale by owners. That is one of the best ways that I've seen people be able to pull business because you probably don't even have to hit the market with the listings that you're going to pull from this data. It's literally ones that you can call the buyers that we were just talking about in the previous topic that you can call and say, hey, I have these first-time home buyer homes available for you. Before we get on the market, we want to see if something fits. The circle prospecting in the price ranges and just go to your average dollar price point in your area and then look at what is like one step below that because those are the people that are having the hardest time finding inventory. And if you can call the circle prospect neighborhoods, so you can do a subdivision search. This is also what I love doing. So absolutely get with me and I'd love to help. But you can find the subdivision and call around them, telling them how many buyers you have in the database, which again, you can filter by price points, or we can help you find how they're looking in the subdivisions. And then calling those listings as a circle prospect call, telling them how many buyers you have. 30,000, I've got 15,000, I've got 1,000 buyers looking in this range. And I'm hoping to find somebody that would entertain an offer off market to helping these people move forward. Now, it isn't quite a bait and switch because you guys could probably sell it off market. But in reality, when people want to make more money, what do? They're going to list. So this is my favorite call right now. If you guys are not super high pressured, you don't want to jump into the expireds, do the circle prospect in the lower price points in your database. So then that way you guys can find the listings for the single family homes that were struggling so much on inventory. So that's my favorite one. Before I jump in expireds to your neighborhood, guys, wherever you live, you need to farm it. So circle prospect it. It should be people that you are hitting intentionally. You guys benefit if their equity grows. Like you should be defending the sales price in your neighborhood more than anyone else because you're going to profit off of anyone that sells at a great price. You also want to be the local expert, and there's no reason that in your neighborhood, you shouldn't be your local expert. You should know every listing. You should know what the price points are, and you should understand who's in the neighborhood, what kind of demographics they are, so you know how to market to them in case you were ever going to sell your home. Just think of it selfishly, like how am I going to benefit from this? So farm your neighborhood. It's an amazing way to be able to pull in listings, and neighbors naturally want to help us. So when you call and you let them know that you're a real estate agent and you're just calling to see if they would like to get a home value or know of anyone looking to make a move because you've got people that always ask about your area, it naturally helps the conversation move along because your neighbors there's a natural inclination to help us. So they want to help you. They're going to think about you and then keep in top of mind of them quarterly so that they remember that you're in real estate. So when they have friends and family buying, teach them how to send you that business. It's not always going to be a direct listing pull, but you guys should be the local expert. Get on the Nextdoor app. Make sure that you guys are watching those posts on the social media for your local neighborhoods and be the person of choice there and just be helpful. It's going to come around. I promise it'll always turn into business for you. That being said, if you do go into, oh, go ahead. Sorry, was that somebody? No. Okay. Expireds. Gonna always be my favorite lead pull. The reason being is because they've already agreed that they want to hit the market and they went with an agent that unfortunately did not get them the results that they are looking for. This is why expireds to me are so helpful and so important for us to go after because one, they didn't know about you guys before you called them. So you can 100% change the trajectory of where they were going because you could change their results. Their results were not what they wanted. they didn't sell, so they're immediately disappointed. Expireds are the best way for you guys to get new business because they really do need help now. And especially in the last 2 years of the market and everywhere I see this. So if I'm speaking out of turn, I'm not sure where it would be. We had agents that listed properties too high and then totally set terrible expectations for these people. That's why everyone needs to start focusing on expireds and canceled, because we have a bad reputation, right? As real estate agents, we need to change the reputation and help them understand that they can still succeed in the market. It just was the agent that they chose last time instead of us, and we can help them change their plan. So go after the expireds. It's still the highest conversion that I'm seeing on listings of cold calling. It's such a great way to do it. And then we do have database too. Emily, did you want to touch on that, or did you have
Let's
anything
time
else?
out for 1 second because I know
Yeah.
that we're moving really fast, guys. So I know that this
Sorry.
is like came from a fire hydrant. Okay. So okay. So here's the cool thing about these few sources that she just talked about. There are 4 ways to communicate. You all have heard me say this 1,000 times, right? You can go voice to voice, face to face, digital, or print. So with some of you, if you're like, I would never call an expired, I know who you are. I coach some of you, right? It's fine. I'm never going to make you do anything that you don't want to do, like that you're not willing to do, because that would just drive us both crazy, right? However, you can mail them. You can mail them a letter, right? Don't worry, I'll send you the letter templates and all of it, okay? Following this call. And yet there are 4 ways, right? You can, if you're like, hey, I love to go face to face. I am a shark. I want to go out and door knock them, right? Go door knock them and drop them off a packet. Like, who's doing that? No one, right? You can find them on social media and direct message them. Hey, do you happen to be the owner of 123 North Main Street by chance? Right? They're going to stalk you and see that you're in real estate. So it's your preference. You can email them. There are multiple ways to communicate. So just because you hear a source, I know sometimes we go, yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, what will you do based on those forms of communication? The other thing I loved that you said, Ashton, was what's the dire need in your market, right? Because essentially what we're doing is we're solving a problem, right? How many of you have had buyers this year that you cannot find inventory for? Raise your hand. Okay, almost every single person on this call. Cool. Okay. So we all have that problem. So what can we do to go solve the problem, right? It's mailing, it's calling. That's why I love the golden letters. If you don't want to circle prospect, send the golden letters. Jen, I can just see your face right here, but you've had a ton of success. Sorry to call you out, but I'm also not sorry because you've had a ton of success sending out letters. You've got multi-million-dollar listings. A letter, right? And that's all it was. It was not a come list me. You can ask her. It's not a come list me. It's a what's your offer? And then, you show up and you walk through it and you provide value. And then we select the options, right? What are the options? Is it going to work for this client? Yes or no? Okay, you still want to sell. Do I want to keep it as a pocket listing and sell off market? Or do we want to maximize the most amount of money? Because it's always one of 2 things. It's convenience. You might want to write this down. It's convenience or it's money. I want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. That is open market. That is listing, going live on the MLS. If it's convenience of terms and time. Terms and time. You get this a lot with the boomers in the market today. Okay. And I know you all are experiencing this. And so that's where, what can we do to off market listing, right? Sign that authorization to show, get it in front of our database. And that's a reason to call your database as well. So you see how this kind of all loops in together. When we have those properties, we can then call the leads in the database and go, hey, I have a couple off markets. Didn't know if you were still in the market of selling or of buying. Sorry, guys, I prefer sellers. But So I love that those two things are huge. We are in an expired market. You all will see more expireds. And Ashton, you said that there was a lack, like they set wrong expectations. I would say they set no expectations.
Okay, fair.
They set no expectations. Y'all know if you compete, right, with those people, or they want to go for sell by owner or all the things, which for sell by owners, it's the same thing. It's the same conversation. Choose how you want to communicate with them, face to face, voice to voice, digital or print, and then do that. Do not do it one and done. Okay. It's not a one and done. It's a consistent effort. Choose your 8x8 campaign. I'm going to do 8 touches over the 8 weeks. And this is my preferred method of communication to this person.
And one thing too is like, I love that you're saying solve the problems in it, because we really shouldn't ever have to leave our database. Like if we just focused on one person and what they needed or where they were going, you could focus on just getting that listing done. And especially as your guys' databases continue to grow, which I know is a huge focus, you're just adding those solutions that need to happen in there. So you have to have good conversations with people, fully understand what they're looking for, and you could just focus on that. How do I find that house? Or how do I find that buyer? We get so complicated instead of realizing it's just one transaction at a time. Just focus on one person and help them move forward, and then you'll be able to continue doing it. But yeah, expireds, guys, I know not everyone loves them, but one, I promise they're not mean. They need help. And then two, in a lot of the markets that I'm in, some of them giant metropolitan areas, there is only like I'm the only person calling sometimes, as in like I don't compete on the phone. And so I tell you guys that because I think so many people think that some markets are getting 8 to 10 agents on the phone. If listings are holding right now, guess who stopped lead generating? Listing agents, because they got scared that they're going to pull listings and they're worried about grabbing more inventory and it not selling. So it's a huge opportunity for you to get really good at your skills and focus on that source so that you can reap the benefits, because next year is going to be a totally different year in the market. Listings are still king. You want to take them now. So get in front of these people now, however you want to do it. And I love, yeah, you can do it social media, flyers, however you want to do it. Just get in touch with these people. They need our help for sure.
Okay, so before we go into lead generation, how to be the best lead generator in the world, I want to just cover one quick thing before we break to the second half. There are 2 problems, and the most important thing is to identify what problem you have. Okay. When I say 2 problems, it's either lead generation or lead conversion. So the question that you need to ask yourself, and you all will know this answer, right? I've asked you, many of you, this question. Do we have enough leads to hit our year-end closing goal? Yes or no? If it's yes, like some of you who have 27,000 people in the database, okay. So you have a lead conversion problem. So what we're saying with the touch plans and the consistency and where to find the lowest hanging fruit in your database, that's the problem that we need to solve. Okay. Now, lead generation problem. If you do not have enough leads in your database to hit your year-end closing goal, then that means that you have a lead generation problem. Now, in a shifted market, we know that we need to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced, right? So that's where some of these methods around mailing, circle calling, expireds, for sale by owners, those lower hanging fruit items come in. Because if you have a healthy mixture of that, you won't have a lead problem, if that makes sense, right? With, oh my gosh, I'm talking to people and no one's motivated. No one's ready. The market's weird. Everyone's saying it's an election year. Right? No, it's not. You're just talking to the wrong people, right? We got to find them motivated. They are out there. Just go to your MLS and see on the hot sheet how many people bought in the last 7 days. And there's your reality check, right? 156 people bought last week, right? But they didn't buy with you. What's preventing them from buying with you? It's not you, because y'all are badass realtors, right? You're the best in the business. You're the best in your market. It's
I love
messaging.
that.
It's messaging. So on database, we see, Ash and I had a conversation, we see from your Met database about 6% conversion. The goal is 10% from the MREA, right? The reality is that we're seeing a 6%, right? Because of inflation, because of interest rates, because election, because of all the things that we know, right? So we're seeing a 6%. Haven't mets, meaning strangers. Like the best way for me to describe this is if I didn't know you and we were at the grocery store and we're in the chip aisle, we would not acknowledge each other. Okay. That's a haven't met. I would not be like, oh, they look familiar, right? Okay. So those people are converting about a 1 to 1.5%. Now the goal MREA is 2%. We're seeing 1 to 1.5% again, just with market conditions. Okay. So it's definitely a numbers game. So if you go, well, I have a lot of people, I don't know if I have enough people to hit my closing goal. That's your math. How many Mets do you have? How many haven't Mets do you have? Right? And then do the math of 6% and 2%, and then you'll know which problem that you're solving. Is that helpful?
And can I clarify one thing on that too? So, and just clarify for me, Emily. So on the 1 to 1.5% on the haven't met, that's your PPC leads, right? Like your Google
Yes.
PPC.
Yep.
So, and I think that so many of us get hung up on like the internet leads are coming in and they're so great. That's a 1 to 2% chance that you're going to get that converted. Whereas instead of calling your past clients, we focus so heavily on the new, the shiny object, the new people in our database. What we should be focused on is the nurtures that you guys have had, the PPC leads that have spoken with you before. Call them back and see what problems you can solve, because they're more likely to convert because you've had a conversation with them. The new business is still great to have, but you've got to find that balance. You can't focus just heavily on that and say that that's the business. The real business is in the older stuff that you guys have had for years and years and years.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Ashton, how do I be the best lead generator in the world? How do I master lead gen?
Well, I read this somewhere, and if you have fun while you're doing something, you're more likely to actually stick with it. So I love having fun doing this job. I think it's really sad to me sometimes when I talk to people and they hate it and they dread doing lead gen. But the way that I get into it, it's like basically you're watching a new episode of TV every day, right? Like you have no idea what's going to happen on the end of the call. So one, make it fun. Like this should be a fun job because you get to do different things in every single way. Like you can call different sources, you can talk to different people, and everyone's story is so different. So instead of looking at it as like a commission piece of what you're calling for, look at them as real people, because that's when it turns in away from the transaction side to actually enjoying your career of real estate. So it's a lot of mindset. And one of the things that I've recognized this last year in my life is the community around us is relatively small, because although it's the most important piece, it becomes kind of secondary to the people that are fires, the transaction side of real estate. But lead gen really should be fun. And so I'd like the fact that Emily has this huge community. I love the community that I have as well. It's nice to be able to have people that are doing lead gen all the time so that you can talk through the problems. So I was hoping out of this call that everyone understands that you all are lead generating. Like, let's lean on each other, like have fun. If you have a bad day, have a person that you can call and talk them through it, because sometimes we just need a reality check. Could we actually help the person that just bit your head off? Or was it just a person that we're not going to be able to help? Because that person that bit your head off could delay you from calling tomorrow, which delays your whole life plans and goals. And instead of that, if you can call me and say like, hey, I had a really bad call, this is what happened, we can joke and laugh about it where it won't affect your future versus you taking that energy into your next session. So find a person that you can have fun with and talk through the lead gen. Emily was one of my people for a very long time on these, where I would call her and tell her what was wrong because I needed her to bring me to reality, and you can't help everybody. So that's one thing. And the reality is lead gen is consistency over intensity every single time. I understand that everyone could do a bold 100 every single day, which is amazing and awesome because the muscle is great to have. That being said, if you don't have the ability or the time in your calendar to do that, do it consistently every single day. And you can do it in a ton of different ways. If you guys are social media people, you can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Facebook. Get on different groups and like focus on the real estate aspect of your life and solve people's problems. And that's how you can consistently do it as well. Because if you're always thinking with real estate in mind, what you focus on expands. We all know the law, and you're able to actually see it become fruitful in your life. It's so great to see the opportunities in it. The other part I say that's so crucial is our connection piece right now, guys. We are sometimes really focused on the heavy quota that we require of everyone. And I know that we have a lot of dials and a lot of contacts that we have to have. But in reality, the connections are the most important piece of this. And if you're just looking at the calls as a task list, it can become overwhelming and it also stops being fun. So make sure that you focus on the positive connections. And I want to tell a quick short story. I have an ISA that worked for me a couple years ago, and she had a baby recently, and she texted me on Sunday and said that they were thinking about upgrading. I know their financial position. They just purchased this house 2 years ago. And I know where they're at in their life, and I kind of wanted to talk her through it. So we talked through what it would look like. And we talked through that they also were thinking about getting another job. And then she was like, okay, I'm going to run through the numbers, talk to the lender, see what this looks like. She messaged me today and said, hey, priority wise, we need to do job, car, and then we can do house next year. Like we're not in the ability to do it right now. Why would I not want that for my clients as well? Why do I want to push my clients faster than I would push my sphere of influence? That's the thing. Like we sometimes do not listen to people's stories, and we are so focused on getting them to do what we want now versus focusing on what's best for them. She's going to move and she's going to use me. It's fine. Like it's all going to work out great. That being said, I'm focusing on what's important for her, not what's important to me, because I know I can go find more leads. I can go find more motivated people. I'm not focusing on changing her goals. I'm focusing on what's best for her. And then I know how to get to more goals of my own financial side by focusing on lead generation every single day. So I say that to say, get your mindset right. Focus on 2025. How do I make 2025 so amazing? It's by having great conversations this year, understanding what people are doing, putting those notes in your database so you don't lose them, and then setting up an appropriate follow-up plan based on what they tell you. Everyone's stories are different, but some of them you can solve now, and some of them we can't solve until a timeline happens. So don't force it on those people. Focus on the motivated that can do something immediately. So that's kind of my, little soapbox that I'll jump on for lead gen. So
Yeah, I love that. So what I heard was make it fun. So whatever you need to do, I would play really loud music for everyone in the office and just be really silly ahead of getting into lead gen, right? If I saw energy, I'd make them stand up or do jumping jacks or shout that they're a badass, like all sorts of stuff, guys. You gotta
smile, smile, smile.
yeah, I'd make them take laps around the office. I'd be like, go walk a lap, right? Like, go take a lap. So like just have fun, get your energy up, stand up if you need to, if you start feeling sluggish or whatever. But make it fun. Make it about the people, right? Real estate is relationships. If you don't like connecting with people, you should not be in real estate. That is a hard fact. So make it about the people, hear their stories, connect with them, and connection leads to conversion. And the other thing is like, just make sure that you're pre-qualifying so you're not wasting your time, or if you're an ISA, you're not wasting your agent's time. Like the biggest things that I see between agents and ISAs is what's a good appointment and what's not a good appointment, right? Like you guys know what I'm talking about. And so that's the biggest thing is like, would you go on this appointment? If you believe that you would go on this appointment and you could convert the client, set it. If you're like, I don't know, like set it as a value add. You can still put an agent in front of it, right? Like you can like whatever, but also even for yourself, if you're not 100% sure that they're 100% sure, set a Zoom appointment for yourself as an agent. Like, let's be efficient with our time, especially in this market. So, Ashton, I want to go through just a couple objections and then we're going to move on to Q&A. So we'll make this really quick. Don't worry, guys. You're going to get the templates, dialogues, and I'm going to have you guys put in the chat like things that you want so I can make sure to get that compiled for you and you can get it. go ahead and type in the chat, what's the number one objection that you're hearing right now? What's the number one objection? What's preventing people from moving? And I also just want to say that if you're focused on listings, that will solve a lot of your problems on the buy side with the unmotivated, right? Okay. Interest rates. Okay, cool. All right, interest rates. Ashton, if somebody says interest rates, what would you say?
Can anyone clarify, is it buy side? Are we focused
Yes.
buy side or list side? It's focused buy
Let's
side.
just say
Okay.
that, yeah, let's say like I'm a like both, because I'm a seller
Okay.
and why would I move if I'm at a 4% interest rate? But we're a buyer, right? Hey, I want to wait till rates come down. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, and can I clarify one thing really quick? I'm looking for external or internal circumstances as the objections, guys. It's because listen for them. There's two different things and we can control one of them. So, Emily, I totally hear that you're a little bit concerned about the interest rates and that's why you're waiting to make a move. Do you mind if I ask, are you waiting for a certain percentage? Are you concerned about a different rate? Like, could you explain a little bit more about what that means to you?
yeah, I mean, I'm sitting at a 4% right now, and I don't want to play close to 7% interest. I mean, I just financially, we're upgrading, and I just don't think that that's going to work for us. So we're going to wait until the rates go down. I think they're going to go down. We'll see how this election goes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually funny because it's not even the first time I've heard that today. I feel a lot of people are kind of waiting on in the market to see what's going to happen. And have you thought a little bit forward? So if the rates did drop, were you thinking that you'd want to make a move at that time, or were you waiting until the election? Because you did say 2 time periods. So what would be the real reason you'd want to wait?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if the rates dropped, then we would definitely be ready before or after. But I think the election will impact whether they drop depending on who gets who gets in office.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is we buy and sell in the same market. So I do want to make sure that I go through all the options. So this upgrade, is this been a long-term plan? Have you guys just started thinking about it? How long were you thinking about making this move?
Yeah, we've outgrown our house for the last few years. I mean, we've got two kids sharing a bedroom. We really need to separate the bedrooms. But we just haven't been able to afford it. I mean, we were looking in 2020 when everything went crazy, and we just we got beat out every time. So we
Yeah.
decided to wait, and then the rates happened, and so.
And I know that this isn't something that you maybe thought about, but it is actually a little bit of a gift of the market that you're in right now, because if the rates did drop, do you believe that the same thing would happen again, where more buyers would get out of the waiting period and jump into the market?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that.
Okay, so and the one reason I would say we should talk about this now, and obviously I don't want to force you guys to making a move that you wouldn't feel comfortable with, but what I'm curious about is if we look at the numbers on your place and what we can do in the price range that you need to move up into and the space that you guys are at, this would be purely a discovery session to see if we are in the right market that can happen. Because my concern is if I don't push you right now, what could happen is if the rates do drop, you guys might be in the exact same inventory problem that you were in before, where you're going to get beat out, or it's going to be too high on the cash to close that you won't actually be able to make the move then either. So that's why I want to go ahead and encourage us to go ahead and meet and see if we can make those numbers make sense. Now, there's no obligation, but what we can do is we can look at what equity you have in the house, what it would sell at, the timeline of what that would look like, and then what we could purchase in the next home. Because have you guys refinanced before in this house? Did you guys
No.
refinance it when the rates kept dropping? Okay. So refinancing though is not a terrible process. It's actually relatively easy. I know some great lenders too that are doing some really great programs on being able to refinance in the future. So we can talk about that as well so that way we could save you the money. But if we can find you the inventory now, I would hate for you to wait, because I'm worried that if I don't get you into a meeting immediately to see if the numbers make sense, we're not going to be able to be in a position to purchase in the next market anyways. So what's a good time for us to get together and just go through those numbers and see what that looks like for you?
Okay, so let's time out. So did you guys just hear how she just walked through facts trump feelings? All she just did was get really clear that they don't actually know if they can make the decision. They're not financially clear, right? Did you guys hear that? Or I was not financially clear, right? Okay, so I use the projection around the election, around interest rates, right? Those are all just, in my opinion, fluff, right? And that's just because the real thing is financially, is it a good decision, yes or no? Well, we won't know that until we do the math.
And if you can, this is why I love doing the listing side of the business, because if you know of off-market opportunities, you probably can match make the people that are upgrading right now and comfort them more. Like that's the thing. There's so many listings that are holding off right now, trying to see if the economy is going to get better for them. Those are the people that you can match make so easily in your database, but you got to get in front of them because there are a lot of people right now that are in the position Emily is saying where they don't know. They're confused. They're hearing a lot on the media, and we need to be a sound of reason. And I do not push, right? That was a take back close that entire time because I don't know if it's going to work. Because I don't want these people to get into a position that they financially wouldn't make sense. Like my friend, like I'm not going to push her to buy a house right now when she needs to upgrade and she needs to get a car and she needs to get a better job. I'm not going to force her to buy a home. I'm not going to force my clients to upgrade right now if it's not the right move for them. That's why I will consistently get appointments, because they can feel that versus it being like I'm pushing for the appointment and I don't care about your feelings. I'm doing it as let's do it as an informational call, an informational appointment. And yes, often the numbers actually can make sense, guys. So don't be scared that you're setting them up to not succeed. It's just that they haven't taken the time to break them down and understand the full picture. It does make more sense to refinance. They do have inventory options right now. They also can negotiate a lot off of sales prices on listings in the holding markets. So push, guys, push right now. Like think about all the people that if you were in the market before 2020 that we didn't push when the interest rates were at 3%. And some of them couldn't purchase. Remind yourself of that feeling, because now they couldn't purchase now because they can't afford it. That's what you guys should come with these calls, because it's 100% the exact same information now.
I love that. Yeah, so true. Yep, don't want to have FOMO. Okay,
No
question.
FOMO.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna open it up. Questions.
I have a question.
Go
I
ahead.
see that there's a lot of different lead generation sources and a lot of different ways you can lead generate. Do you recommend all the ones that you guys have listed today, or just how many do you think each person should focus on as far as lead generation?
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Would you agree with that option?
And honestly, yeah, what I think too is like I think of 9 sources kind of as a total, but really you should be super good at 3 and then add in more every single year. Like if you master one, then kind of keep adding them on. Don't try to do too many at once. Just focus on your best one and then keep adding them in.
Come on, guys. I know you have questions. Like we have 7 minutes and you have a lead generation expert on here. So ask. Is there an anything? You can ask anything.
Well, can I jump into Logan's objection real quick on inventory in their budget for sellers looking to move?
Yeah.
I definitely, Logan, I don't know where you're at, and so if you want to jump off, you can. This is where I think circle prospecting is such a fun way to do this if you have the systems in place to do it. If you don't, we typically all have access to our tax records, and so you can send mailers based off of what they're looking for to the location. So if you don't have the system, like a dialer or something like that could pull the data for you, focus on the tax records and look in that location. But here's the real thing is when their inventory is low, how serious are they? If they're a 5 to 10, you do the extra homework to find them listings. If they're a 1 to 5, don't do the extra homework, because you need to ask them like, hey, I'm willing to go door knock these homes for you to find you the inventory. If I find it today, are you ready to make a move? If that is a no, you wait until it's a yes, because there's no reason you should go out and try to find all these listings. Focus on an A person right now that you can find listings for versus a B or C person right now.
So what system do you use for texting your expired listings? Because I've actually heard that before and I just don't know how to go about doing it.
Yeah. And is your full name Ian?
It is.
I can say the whole. Okay, perfect. Ian, so I would use your CRM if possible. I know there's some rules about the TCPA. This is why you want to make sure that you're doing the right phone number, so then that way you guys can get a hold of the right person. Make sure that you guys follow your rules within your system. But if you're not doing a CRM, you can use Google Voice if you want to do a free one. Also, you could do it direct from your phone, just it gets a little complicated. So depending on what your size is and how you're at. But the CRMs, I would create a smart plan, auto plan, action plan, whatever it is. That way you know what to follow along with 10 days of messaging, which I've got for Emily to share. So, and that's where I would send them out. That way we can make sure that we're getting engaged leads back on the expireds. Find the right owner and text them and get a hold of them that way.
I just didn't know if you use Mojo or not, as far as like some of that, because I know that's what I use for expired data. So
Yeah, if they have a texting ability yet, which I haven't seen, but if they do, you absolutely, I would send them an email as well, because Mojo does pull the email
Okay.
often. Well, 50% of the time. Send them an email as well, because it's a good way to get a hold of them.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Where are
Kelly.
you guys, how do you find that? So one of the things I struggle with is getting the right phone numbers. So, if I'm going into RPR or anything like that, and I'm looking for listings, or looking for homes for buyers, right? We have a low inventory here. And just getting the correct contact information. What have you found the best way to get the contact information?
Yeah, so I feel like we all turn into basically little private detectives when we do this. So True People Search, which I'm going to put it in the app the chat once I figure that out so that I can send it to you guys. This one's the one that's free. And you can do it a variety of ways. You can do it by like name, address, and things like that. So that's the free one. Forewarn is the best app that I love for real estate agents. It's $20 a month. You do put your licensing in just because it does pull in different data. But especially for anyone that's doing a lot of appointments, you can see some history on the people, and it's helpful to be able to see a little bit more. So I'm going to put that in the chat too.
I was just
And
going to say,
that's an
if
app.
you could spell that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really helpful one. And then if you're looking for like ones where you can pull lists, Cole Realty is a good one. Obviously Mojo has their way, and then Land Voice. So those are the ones that I would find contact data.
Got you. Does anybody else use RPR? Nobody knows what RPR
yeah,
is. That
I
something
do.
local here?
Yeah,
I'm
there
sorry.
are lots of people on here that use it, Kelly.
Oh, okay.
Is that
okay?
Sorry, your
I
tax
can't.
records?
I didn't
Basically,
see
it kind of
everyone.
it pulls like their name and the address, right, Kelly? When you're on that on RPR.
Yeah, so I can search like within like a certain demographic area and, look for people most likely to sell, a certain price point, age group, all of that. And then oftentimes I can find contact information, but it's not always accurate. I would say a lot of times it's probably not accurate. And so, and then another thing is, sometimes people will, put in like, what's my home worth kind of thing, like in, a different, different
And they
avenues or
don't fill
whatever.
out their contact.
That's right. And you get the address, but you don't get all the information. And so then it's like going and digging. And so you can send a letter. I actually did get a listing this year that way, sending a letter
Nice.
to someone who did that way, but when you were talking about the problem, so my problem is not converting. My problem is the lead gen. And so I'm trying to be more purposeful with that.
Yeah, and Kelly, if you ever need it too, we can do like a little session of like how I would try to navigate through to find all the contact information, because it is kind of just a step-by-step process, but when it's worth
Okay.
it, it's worth it. Because if you can't find it, trust me, other agents can't find it either. So do the digging. Like it's worth it to get the right contact information.
Okay,
Hey,
thank you.
Kelly, there's an app that I use. It's called HuntX. It's Kim Usselton.
Hi.
So I do rural properties, but it's called HuntX, and it's a hunting map, but it shows property boundary lines. You can get names and addresses on that, and then I use Forewarn to cross-reference it.
Okay, got you.
It's an app that our office pays for. I don't know if y'all have that or not, but it tells you phone numbers and
Super
address
helpful.
histories and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's a good one too.
I thank you so much. These are
You're
great.
welcome.
Yeah, Four Horns really good. Also PropStream is a really good for finding contact information as well. I find PropStream's better than Cole Realty Resource.
Prop streams.
PropStream.
Okay.
PropStream. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Ashton, do you guys want to make this like a series and go into some of these things where she can share screen and maybe go a little bit deeper in some of this stuff? Would that be?
Yes, please.
That
Yeah.
would be great.
Yes, please.
Okay,
I
because
agree.
like I think this might be helpful. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. I know we're right at the top of the hour. Type in anything that we discussed that you would like outside of text, templates, and dialogues, which we will send you. I will send you my letters. If there's anything that you would like us to attach to the email, please type it in now. Don't be shy. Ask for anything. We're like your genie at this point. Okay. And then let's share a couple ahas while we're typing that in. What'd you guys get out of today? What are we going to implement?
For me, I think it's being more purposeful with who I'm calling and how many people I need to call and like paying attention to those rates and seeing how many calls I need to do to get an appointment.
Love that. Clarity's power. When we know the math, it makes it a lot easier.
You know what you're shooting for.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay on my expireds.
Hitting the expires.
Stay
Yeah.
on. Get them all.
Farm my neighborhood. Yep. The canceled listings. Yes. Guys, I will tell you that expireds and canceled and FSBOS is where I got started. And that's the first thing I trained Ashton on. And we blew up the expired market. I mean, we would carry, I don't even know, 100 listings. I have no idea. We did a lot of real estate. But our number one listing lead source was from expireds and canceleds. That was our number one. We also did for sale by owners. We did circle prospecting. That's the big opportunity. I'm telling you, I can see it. It's coming. And I'm excited about it because those of you who dive in, and again, you can do it letters. You don't have to call. You can do it letters. You can do whatever. Those of you who commit to that, you're 5 years from now, you're going to be very wealthy and you're going to be very thankful that you did it, right? Embrace the short-term pain for the long-term gain. None of us were good at it when we first started. Okay. None of us, right? The only reason why we're like why Ash and I are experts at it now is just because we've done it thousands of times, like a ridiculous amount of times. So don't give up. Do not give up. Don't give up on letters. Don't give up on calling. Don't give up on talking to people in your database. Embrace it. Build your pipelines. Know the numbers you need to expect, what to expect. Yes, yellow letters is a good one. And then what's the other one that I use? Hold on letters. And then we'll jump up. I need to see what I use for letters.
And I did include in the templates that we'll send out a golden letter campaign for your database. So it's very similar to what Emily has the letters sent out. It'll send it to them directly in your database.
Yeah. I have a couple that I send and let me look. I'm just pulling it up, you guys, because I can't memorize everything, especially companies. I'm like, there's so many. But this one's so good, the one that I'm about to recommend. So this is the one that I would actually recommend.
Oh, the site that you use?
Yeah.
Is it
Hold
Yellow
on.
Letter? Is that the one? No.
No, I know Yellow Letter.
Oh, okay.
Ballpoint marketing. Ballpoint marketing. I
Oh.
recommend ballpoint marketing over yellow letter.
Get
Um,
it.
but yellow letter is the most common, but ballpoint marketing is actually the preferred. Okay, awesome, guys. Well, we have taken your notes on what it is that you would like to get. We'll send it. If you have questions, just shoot me an email or reach out to Ashton. And I think we're going to do this again, but like I'll send out a survey on like what specific problems so we can go deeper, if that's cool, versus 1,000 different directions. So awesome.
Love
All right.
it.
Happy Friday.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
See ya.